In a matter of days, some of the busiest cities on the planet will pause. Commutes will stop, shops will close, and life will shift toward a single shared focus. This happens because an estimated 4 billion people, roughly half the human population, will all be watching the same event at the same time. That event is the FIFA World Cup. When an audience reaches this scale, the tournament is no longer just a series of games. It becomes the only global conversation happening for an entire month. To understand the intensity, you have to look at how it differs from the football you see every week. In standard club football, players are professionals working for specific city-based teams. They represent organizations like Manchester City, operating as employees within a high-revenue corporate structure. But in the World Cup, that corporate layer is gone. Players put on their national colors to represent their families, their flags, and millions of people back home who are watching their every move. This shift changes the nature of the sport. It is no longer a professional league. It is a once-in-4-year struggle for a country's sporting survival. Reaching the stage is not easy. Before the tournament even begins, every continent holds its own qualification matches to filter the global pool. The system is designed to be ruthless. The strongest nations move forward, while dozens of others are eliminated and sent home before the world even starts watching. For 2026, the dimensions of this funnel have expanded. For the first time, exactly 48 countries have qualified for the final tournament. By adding these extra slots, the 2026 edition becomes the largest and most grueling World Cup ever attempted. Once the tournament starts, the scale narrows down from 48 nations to just 11 individuals on the pitch. Those 11 players must function as a single unit. You have the goalkeeper for protection, defenders to stop attacks, midfielders to connect the play, and attackers tasked with finding the goal. The goal is simple: score more than your opponent within a strict 90-minute limit. In the knockout rounds, there is no room for a draw. If the score is level after 90 minutes, the match moves into extra time and, eventually, a penalty shootout, the highest pressure moment in professional sports. All the global hype and national pressure eventually comes down to these 11 people and how they handle that finite window of time. What happens in those 90 minutes is permanent. The results are written into a nation's history, creating legacies that last for generations. We see this in results like the 2014 match where Germany defeated Brazil 7-1, or France's clinical run to the trophy in 2018. For individual players, this is the ultimate crucible. In 2022, Lionel Messi finally secured the trophy, a moment that settled a decade-long debate about his standing in the sport. The tournament doesn't just award a trophy. It turns ordinary footballers into national heroes, or leaves them carrying the weight of a loss forever. The next chapter of this history begins on June 11, 2026, and concludes with the final on July 19th. Right now, the stadium is empty and the bracket is wide open. A new generation of players is about to step into this environment. You now know the rules and the stakes. You are ready to see who will become the next king of football. But who actually has the best chance of winning? To find out which teams are the favorites for 2026, let's move to part 2.
The 2026 World Cup demands nearly a month of your life. Between clearing your calendar, riding the emotional highs, and risking your fantasy sports capital, you're making a massive investment. But deciding exactly where to place your attention is difficult. Mainstream sports coverage heavily markets individual storylines, hiding the reality of how these teams actually perform on the pitch. To make smart viewing choices, we need to look at structural completeness. A deep squad with resilient tactics holds far more weight in a deep tournament than a roster relying on a single famous face. This quadrant chart provides a simple framework to map out your options. The vertical axis measures emotional stakes, the legacy storylines. The horizontal axis measures objective win probability, showing how complete the squad actually is. Plotting the two extremes shows the divide. France lands in the bottom right, offering incredibly high win probability but lower legacy stakes. Argentina sits in the top right, balancing strong probability with the massive emotional weight of their captain's final years. We are going to strip away the marketing posters. By evaluating the top 5 contenders strictly on their structural merits, you can figure out exactly how to allocate your viewing hours. Because trading your attention like a calculated portfolio requires looking past the superstar headshots to examine how a team is actually built. Let's start at the top tier, built for the optimizer who wants guaranteed quality. These are the structurally complete juggernauts of international football. We'll evaluate them using this comparison matrix, tracking the initial investment, the tactical profile of the team, and the expected reality of their performance. Adding France and Brazil to the matrix reveals a shared profile, high squad depth and tactical dominance. France arrives as arguably the most complete squad in international football.
Led by Kylian Mbappé, their system is heavily insulated. If one star player drops in form, another elite option steps immediately into a cohesive unit. Brazil offers enormous quality across the entire pitch. A lineup featuring Alisson, Marquinhos, Vinícius Jr, Rafinha, Bruno Guimaraes, and Neymar guarantees elite talent in every single phase of play. The trade-off for backing these heavyweights is immense public pressure. Because their talent pools are so deep, any minor tactical error is treated as a catastrophic failure, and you lose the entertainment value of rooting for an underdog. Investing your time in France or Brazil guarantees high consistency and deep tournament runs. You trade narrative romance for cold, effective tactical execution. Now, consider the emotional investor. This viewer prioritizes legacy and history over tactical safety. As our matrix shifts to feature Argentina and Portugal, the profile updates immediately to aging superstars and high volatility. Argentina remains incredibly dangerous, but their core narrative centers on Lionel Messi, approaching the final chapter of his career. The emotional draw of watching him try to secure one last triumph overrides pure tactical analysis. Portugal carries a similar historical anchor. Their expectations are tightly bound to Cristiano Ronaldo, prioritizing his legacy and formal status over fluid, modern on-pitch dynamics. Now, this creates a severe tactical vulnerability. As legendary focal points physically decline, their teams struggle to match the physical intensity of younger, faster midfields that dictate modern matches. You run a very real risk of watching these teams face sudden, early elimination. But if they manage to string a run together, the emotional payoff of that victory is unmatched. Backing these legacy teams is a high-risk, high-reward gamble. You are pitting pure nostalgia against the relentless physical demands of the current game. Next, we have teams composed of highly valuable individual pieces attempting to operate as a single unit. The matrix updates here for England, showing a profile defined by high individual value combined with low system cohesion. On paper, the appeal is massive. You get a dense collection of peak-age domestic stars, bringing together names like Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane, Bukayo Saka, and Phil Foden. The inherent flaw in this archetype is historical. Grouping elite individuals together rarely translates to a trophy unless they are governed by a rigorous, overarching tactical system. Casual viewers often fall into a trap here. Because you watch these players perform brilliantly for their club teams every weekend, it is easy to falsely inflate their win probability on the international stage. Compiling an all-star roster might sell jerseys, but true international success requires structural integration. Throwing a dozen stars onto the pitch rarely survives the later rounds. Finally, we have an option tailored for the time-poor viewer, someone who cares less about who lifts the trophy and more about the pure quality of the 90 minutes they sit down to watch. Spain exemplifies this perfectly. They bring one of the most exciting young teams in football, relying on a dynamic, fast-paced, and youth-driven style of play. These squads benefit from highly unpredictable wildcards. When a player brings elite speed and dribbling ability, they can crack open a stagnant defense and instantly change the rhythm of the match. The downside to this profile is extreme volatility. While they are thrilling to watch, youthful, attack-heavy teams tend to structurally collapse when they face veteran, defensively disciplined opponents. If you only have time for a few matches, investing in these high-variance teams yields the highest pure entertainment return, even if their structural flaws eventually catch up to them. We've broken down the heavyweights, the emotional favorites, and the entertainers. But pure rankings do not dictate how you should spend your time. Use this viewing portfolio flowchart to finalize your allocation. It asks, what's your primary goal? Optimizers seeking reliable wins route to France and Brazil. Thrill seekers branch towards Spain's pure action. Emotional investors follow the path to Argentina and Portugal, accepting risk for narrative closure. The reality of 2026 is that the sport's mechanics have evolved. A single shiny gear cannot match the force of a massive, perfectly calibrated machine. The modern World Cup strictly rewards complete tactical systems over individual magic. By aligning your emotional expectations with this structural reality, you can master your 2026 viewing portfolio.